Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. Times are hard. There is a cost of living crisis. Even butchers are having to put grain at one end of the sausage. They find it hard to make both ends meet. However, for one group, things are particularly tough. We must remember that these are very overworked people earning a pittance who scrape by day after day, not knowing where the next meal is coming from. For them, it is desperate and important that they get some kind of pay rise. I mean, it is absolutely intolerable, the level of pay that they're on. They deserve more for what they do. I am, of course, talking about MSPs. How they can survive on £67,500 a year as a basic wage before you add in all the other expenses they get. Or the promotions after they become ministers, they'll earn a little bit more. But it is barely enough to put the gas on for more than a few hours a day. Fortunately, they have had a little bit of relief. They've decided to award themselves an extra £5,000 a year. Humza Yousaf himself will now be on just over £170,000. It makes you wonder how he can afford to even get into work given the cost of travel. It's very hard for these people. We must feel sorry for them. And thankfully, as I say, they are now being paid an appropriate amount. Let's have a look. I am, of course, joking. They are massively overpaid to begin with. The fact is, you could pay these people £100 a week and there'd still be a queue a mile long to be an MSP. What on earth do they do to deserve this money? Most of them sit there, don't do anything, don't contribute, don't speak, and when they do, they utter the most ridiculous, stupid things. Does anyone think the likes of Ross Greer is worth £125,000 a year? I wouldn't pay him £125 a year. He's nothing. He's a non-entity. He's got no skills. He's got no knowledge. He's got no education. What the hell does he bring to the party? Nothing. Other than a little bit of comfort for a sad old dwarf. Humza Yousaf earns more than Rishi Sunak. How? What does he do? Rishi Sunak has got his finger on the nuclear trigger and is looking after an economy worth $1 trillion. Humza Yousaf? He's a Lord Mayor and he's earning more than the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. And for what? To lead a divisive government designed specifically to harm the interests of the majority of the people in Scotland. But they'll still get this massive pay rise. What's the performance link to this? How have they increased their performance? They've put through this year less legislation than in any year since the SNP came to power. If they were paid by performance, they would owe us. Anyway, pay rise for MSPs as Humza Yousaf's salary to break the £170,000 mark, more than Rishi Sunak. Members of Holyrood will see their pay package rise by 6.7%, meaning they'll take home a whopping £72,000 from April. MPs are set for a pay increase after it's announced their salaries would be boosted by 6.7%. The 129 MSPs currently take home a comfortable £67,500. But for the financial year 24-25, that will rise to more than £72,000. It means Humza Yousaf will be entitled to a huge salary of £172,000 or £211 when his minister's pay is factored in, plus his expenses. Plus, of course, he gets all the freebies like the ministerial travel, and he gets to have dinners here and travel there and all this sort of thing. He's earning all this extra money, but he's not spending it. And on what? On what? Is he head of the army? No. Has he got his finger on the nuclear button? No. Is he overseeing the role of a head of state? No. Is he head of government? No. He's the Lord Mayor. And he's got his control of fewer people than the Mayor of London. Sadiq Khan has more power than Rishi Sunak and a bigger budget. Anyway, the news was confirmed at a meeting of the Finance and Public Administration Committee on Tuesday. Conservative MSP Jackson Carlaw representing the Scottish parliamentary corporate body, said it will see pay rises to £72,195 for representatives. They're voting on their own pay rise. And yet there is no measure to say whether their productivity has increased. It hasn't. They should be paid on results, not just for turning up. And most of them don't even turn up. Whenever you turn onto the channel and look at the Parliament, all you see is banks and banks of empty seats because these lazy bastards can't even be bothered to turn in for a day's screw. But they're first in the line when it comes to getting their bloody paycheck, aren't they? The increase will take effect on April the 1st, and it's not a joke, and it follows an increase of 1.5% last year and 3.4% the year before. This year's salaries were based on increases to average weekly earnings, after previously being increased on the Office for National Statistics annual survey of hours and earnings. So whatever one's the highest, I presume. Of course, if they had any balls and a backbone and a spine and decency, they'd say no. But let's face it, they're not going to do that. And the likes of the Greens are going to go money, 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 because they're never going to earn this kind of money again. When is Ross Greer ever going to earn this salary again in his life? Never. He'll have to go back to hooking down the docks, won't he? The spokesperson for the Scottish Parliament said the Scottish Parliament severed the link to MPs' pay back in 2016 so that MSPs' pay rises reflected public sector increases across Scotland. Doing it that way so that they could then say, oh, we didn't award it to ourselves, but knowing that their rate is linked to the level. And so as the link and the rise increases for the public sector, they get the same rises. So basically, they'll get a lot more without seeming to vote for it, but knowing cynically at the time that they'd always get that good and beneficial pay rise. They did it that way deliberately because they're all greedy fuckers. And I apologise for my language, but it's what they are. Anyway, prior to that, the MSPs received 3.4% in 22-23, sorry, and at 0% in 21-22. I think they deserve a pay cut this year. After all they've done is fight and bicker and pass no laws. Every law they have has cost money. They've wasted public money left, right and centre. Why should they be paid for the privilege? It's just a joke. It is a joke. An extra 5,000 for him. An extra what? It'll be an extra 7 grand, wouldn't it, for him? For doing what? Oh, look at me as I'm earning all my money for doing nothing. And of course, you get the excess pension uplift, which is forever. So even when they resign and retire and go, they got that pension uplift, and that's a future cost forever. It's unbelievable, isn't it? Unbelievable. Anyway, I'm going to stop because it'll get me angry. I'm just going to stop and come up. I'm going to take a deep breath, and then I'm going to do my outro, and then we'll move on to the next one. Do hit the subscribe button. This gets you angry, and you want to keep angry on this, so hit the subscribe button. Anyway, I'm coming up. During my working life, I got some regular and nice pay rises, and occasionally, I get a very good pay rise. You know, on one occasion, a spectacular pay rise. But this was done through taking on more tasks, or for doing things better, for contributing to the profits of the company. I didn't get it simply for turning up. It wasn't that kind of company. You'd get a small uplift to cover sort of cost of living rise. But, you know, if you put the effort in and you did this and did that and I take that on and, oh, look, I'm doing that now, they rewarded you for it. And yeah, I did. I mean, I remember years, there was one year I got a £10,000 pay rise. It was a mixture of several different things. It was a cost of living rise. It was taking on a new role. It was doing something on the sites that saved them a fortune and so forth. I was given that. I'd earned it, though. I'd earned that pay rise. Best pay rise ever, actually. Normally, you'd get a few thousand. But that was fine. But you'd earned them. That's the point. They weren't just given. You had to prove you were worthy of them. What do they do to prove that they're worthy? You have this current government that's got the lowest rate of legislation going through ever. Everything they have tried has failed. They've had court case after court case after court case, which they've lost, and it's cost money. They've achieved nothing. They've made life worse for everyone. And now the people have got to pay even more for these inept, two-faced, corrupt wankers to carry on delivering the same shit service. It's a joke. But it is what it is. I'm stopping now. Thank you very much for watching. Do please hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, leave a like, leave a comment, please share the video, and stay bloody angry. Till next time, goodbye.